Yeah. Yeah. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Sankofa Video Books and Cafe. I'm Christina Joy. I'm the events coordinator here at Sankofa. We are across the street on Georgia Avenue from the lovely Howard University, the illustrious Howard University, my alma mater, HU. HU. Thank you, Kamal. You know, that's the appropriate answer. The only answer to that question is you know. Thank you. Welcome. We've been standing here on Georgia Avenue since 1997. That's been a long time. You know, a lot's changed since the 90s. A lot. And tonight we are welcoming a wonderful author here by the name of Angela Holton. Give it up for Angela. Angela Holton is the author of Date Night for Couples. Fun ways to connect with your partner for an entertaining night. First of all, can we give it up for Angela for writing a fun book? Like, Black people, we be so serious all the time. And I mean, you know, we have a reason to be serious, but it's fun to have a fun book. You know, that's all I gotta say about that. And so, Angela.
You call me Doctor.
You know, Doctor, maybe I'm prophesying right now. Angela Nicole Holton is an international dating and relationship coach, speaker, author, and founder of the Love Sanctuary. She's also the creator of the Conscious Love and Dating Method coaching program, a modern and revolutionary approach to dating. Welcome, Angela. How are you doing tonight?
Yes. I'm wonderful. Thanks for having me. Hi, everybody. Thanks for spending your Friday evening with me. I came all the way from Denver, Colorado to share my love with you and my love for my book. So I appreciate you being here.
Thank you so much. I'm excited, y'all. Look, thank you, Angela. So, Angela, I wanted to get started just by you letting us know a little bit about yourself. How did you come to be known as a relationship expert? Like, that's like a heavy title. So, especially because not a lot of people are actually experts in relationships, even though they be saying that they're experts in relationships. So, what led you to this point? What led you to this book? Like, who is Angela?
I love that question. Well, people teach what they most need to learn and need to hear for themselves. So I wouldn't be in this space if dating and love and relationships wasn't an area of my life that I wasn't struggling in. And so it was really a purpose, a calling that brought me into the space. I never wanted to talk about relationships because I wasn't in one then, but now I am. You know, there was a little bit of imposter syndrome. I've worked with women, coaching women for self-empowerment and purpose and self-esteem and confidence. But I really avoided the conversation about dating and relationships because of that reason. I felt that I would be disqualified because I wasn't in a relationship. But God had a different purpose for me and a different calling and said, you're the perfect person to talk about it because you're using this experience in your life that's been challenging and you've acquired these skills and these tools that it's now your responsibility to share what you're learning. And the relationship piece actually was secondary to the relationship with yourself. And so my premise has always been leading women to having a healthy relationship with themselves. And the romantic partnership is the byproduct of that. Everything in life is the byproduct of the relationship you have with yourself. So again, it was a calling that led me here. My background is in social work. I've spent my life helping people. Oh, right. Yes. MSW is here. I have dedicated my life to service and helping people and really focusing on my own interpersonal skills and very introspective and really into self-improvement within myself. So this was just a natural transition and segue from all the work that I've done. And so, yeah, and becoming an expert is really when you want to call yourself one. And I remember when someone called me an expert at something and I said, well, you know, I'm not an expert. And they're like, you are. And I think we get so focused on what we're supposed to achieve and where we're supposed to be before we consider ourselves expert at something. And I was expertly single. I could write the book on being single. I could write and I did. I could write the books on wanting to meet someone. So, you have to qualify yourself to be an expert and not wait for someone else to call you that. Michael Jackson called himself the king of pop. He didn't wait for someone else to give him that title. And so, and then I've written the books to further give me more authority and credibility in the work that I do, and promoting what I do and sharing on television and podcasts and radios that, actually someone else called me the expert. And I was like, ooh, expert. And so I've learned to embrace it, but own it.
Talk about a message. Received. So what is it like being a relationship coach? One, and tell the folks the difference between a coach and a therapist, because they are not the same. And also, what are common issues you see in your coaching practice?
Okay. Remind me of the second question if I forget. Okay. So the first question is, what was the first question?
What's it like?
What's it like? I love it. I love being in the space because people always want to talk about relationships. Always, it's such a big part of our lives. And when our relationships are not in place, it bleeds into other areas of our lives. And I'm not just speaking about romantic partnerships. I'm speaking about relationships in general. When we're experiencing dissatisfactions in our friendships and our relationships, that bleeds into our work, our job, our raising children, whatever that is. So it's important to really make relationships. Not mine. It's important, relationships are important and the health of them are important. And I think when we have healthier relationships, or when we're healthy, we'll have healthier relationships. And then that brings a sort of sense of health and abundance in other areas of our lives. So I love doing the work that I do. I get to meet so many wonderful people. I get to talk about what people struggle with often the most, right? Especially as a woman very independent woman who has gone to school, achieved a lot for myself personally, with things that you feel like you have a sense of control over. And then when you're waiting for that partner to come along, it's like, why can't I get every other piece of my life together but this piece? So I feel, like what I do is important, and I feel like it's helping a lot of people. It's helping a lot of women. Fellas, I'm not leaving you out, but a lot of my audience is women. So, but, I love that, people see the results of what I do. And I don't believe in very tactical, superficial dating strategies, that we often see on television and in the magazines. It's the same conversation and the same narratives. And nothing will change or shift until we move from the surface level conversations. So I love having deeper, thought-provoking conversations about love and intimacy, and meeting people and officiating weddings. I'm going to officiate another wedding this year. So yeah, I am ordained. But so I love what I do, and it's what one of the things I guarantee with anyone who works with me. I may not guarantee that when your partner will come into your life, but I will guarantee you a change and improved and a healthy relationship with yourself to set you up for that relationship. So I love it. And again, I get to travel, I get to meet people, I get to, recreate, and this book can sort of, the topic of dating relationships can sort of morph into so many different things. And that's what I love too, that I'm not in a box with it. And then your second question was, what are the challenges that most people, they want to meet somebody. Everybody wants to meet somebody. And then I also work with couples now. I'm in a relationship now, and that's my partner in the back. Everybody say hi. People want to be in a relationship. And I would even challenge people who say they don't want to be in a relationship. People don't want to be in bad relationships. But we're here for love. Who doesn't want love? So people come to me struggling with modern dating, meeting people in a world that is chaotic and busy and distracted. and social media has taken over. AI is about to take over even more. Things are moving so quickly, but feeling like they can't get a grasp on some of the other things that they want. And there's a lot of artificiality, is that the word, artificiality, that we see in social media. So people come to me struggling from past relationships, wanting to create something differently and not knowing how or having the tools to do it.
So when they're coming to you with the struggles, what types of struggles do you deal with versus like the other part of the question was the difference between like coaching and therapy?
That's because she wants to be a therapist. I had those aspirations too. So, what I love about being a coach, as opposed to what I think would have been like to be a therapist, even though I was on that track to become a therapist, is I feel a lot more freedom in how I can engage and interact with my clients. My clients become friends. That is a no-no in therapy. I mean, in therapy, you see your therapist out in public and you're not even supposed to like really acknowledge them. And that was just not my space. And again, I believe in therapy. I'm not negating the therapy, but I also like that I can touch my clients if I want and hug them. And I know you can show affect and emotion as a therapist, but I can really just fully be transparent in myself, in my therapy practice, in my coaching practice. But also, I'm also not coaching. Coaching is different from therapy, and we have to be clear that I'm not addressing mental health issues, right? And if I do work with clients that present with mental health issues, I make sure that they're also in therapy because I'm clear that I'm not a therapist. But in conjunction with therapy, the work is really, really powerful. And I will say this too. I've had clients, and I wish some of them were here tonight that live in DC, that have said to me, you've helped me more in the 8-9 weeks we've worked together than I received in 3 years in therapy. Because I don't have to follow a lot of the rules, the boundaries and the rules, and I go right in there, and there's not like this protocol. And as a coach, my job is to get you from point A to point B.
Right.
And if I don't get you to point B, I at least help you understand and see what's preventing you from getting to point B. And it's very, very action oriented. I give very practical, concrete tools, whereas I think therapy it's talk therapy. You're talking your way through a lot of things, whereas with me as a coach, you're talking, but I'm also giving you a lot of practical steps and work to do.
Right. And I think they are married, right? The coaching and therapy are married, but also like in both sides, you have to be cautious because on the side of therapy, like you can, because of the way therapy is set up, it's set up within this white supremacist model of like we are the domineering force over the patient and not the client, like not the person that you're just trying to help. And coaching kind of decentralizes that.
There's no hierarchy.
Exactly. There's no hierarchy. We're here, you're here, we all here, you have this problem, I'm gonna help you with this problem. Versus therapy's like, there's this very specific problem that you have that we have to dig and find. And coaching might help you with the other 10 problems that one problem caused.
Right.
So like coaching's like getting all that off your plate so you can go to therapy and be like, all right, we got to the root of this. Here you go, help me with this. Because otherwise, I think what often happens with therapy is that you get fatigued because the therapist is trying to dig into the under surface, and the person's not ready. The person's ready for the first 10 things on their list to be taken off. But you're ready, as the therapist, you're trained to go underneath, like, no, all this is fluff. We know this is fluff. Let's go under to see what's going on for real. But a lot of people aren't ready for that. They're not. Yeah. And so like coaching is kind of like okay, here you go.
Not with me.
How's it with you?
My partner likes to say I go for the juggler. I do. Anyone that's worked with me, I've trained in therapy, and I'm very clear that I don't practice therapy with my clients, but I know how to practice therapy. And I know when I'm in my coach hat and when I know the hat of a therapist. But no, I don't, there's no let's just go to the circuitous things that are around. No, I know how to go underneath there because I've been trained to do that. And I know how to ask the questions to get my client there. But not to say that they don't still need support from a therapist.
Yeah.
But I do believe that my work is very transformational because I see it in my line of questioning. We talked about this before, and my degree in social work trained me how to ask questions. And it's all about how you question people to get information about, the help that they need.
Absolutely. And there's levels to that. Yeah. Because when you first come out of social work school, i.e. me, you go, you're looking and you're like, okay, I'm a therapist now. They said I'm a therapist. Let me go therapize these kids. Let me therapize these people. And these people are like, I got problems. And you're like, wow, you do got problems. But you're thinking you're trying to fix the problem, where you realize you need to ask more questions, because if you're not asking the right questions, you're not going to help them find the problem at all. But now we're going in a whole different direction. So let me make it back to date night, because we had date night, y'all. So why date night? One, because I think that there's a common misconception, or I guess an overarching thought, that when you're dating, dating leads up to marriage, and once you're married, that's it. You won the prize, so you don't gotta date no more. You don't gotta be in the dating world. So why date night for couples?
And couples also means singles that are dating also, because that's still couples. Because dating is about connecting. Dating is about intimacy. Dating is about connecting and reconnecting with your partner, or attracting a partner. And if you're in a long-term relationship, those are one of the things that you mentioned that couples often stop doing, is dating and getting to know someone. And if you're in a partnership and you find that your dating life has gotten stale and complacent, there's always space and room to reinvigorate it. And it doesn't matter how long you've been with your partner. And even though I haven't walked in those shoes to be with someone that long, I just know that there's so much here for us to discover. And I had a grandmother who passed at 98 years old last year. And I know she was still discovering things about herself. So I think as long as we're here and we're living and we're breathing and there's life in us, there's transformations, there's information, there's things that God wants to know and see about ourselves. So if you're in a partnership and you think you know your partner, you can't know someone completely. Only God knows us completely. So when couples get stagnant in their relationships, it's also often because they haven't tried to scratch beneath this, go further. How can I learn my partner in a different way? And so date night is important. Date night, people think of date night, going out to dinner, those things are important, but it's really, what are the things that you can do to recreate intimacy with your partner, connection, playfulness, engagement. And it doesn't always have to be elaborate plans, expensive plans, but, for me, the premise of this book is, it's about provoking intimacy with someone. And people often just either do Netflix and chill, which is a chapter in the book, or they go to dinner. And that's great. But if you want to keep a connection with someone, you have to peel back different layers of yourself and different layers within them. And so this book is designed for playfulness and adventure and intimacy in ways that we often don't think about, because we think of it in one certain kind of way. But, if you're not engaging in novel ideas, then how are you going to create and discover novel things about yourself and your partner? And that's what I wanted to do in this book, is create nostalgia. Because, when we think about the happiest beings on this planet, the most fulfilled, they're children. And children are living in the moment. Children are playful. Children are inquisitive. Children are curious. They are excitable. But as adults, we start to lose those things. And so when we're dating, the key and the trick, and I'm going to give you my whole business paradigm here, is to evoke those childhood feelings. Seriously.
Yeah.
It may sound contrite, but dating should be about evoking those happy moments in your life.
Yeah.
Because when you spark up those happy moments in your life on a date, those are going to be the dates that you remember. And those are the moments of engagement and connection with your partner that will stand out to you. Yes, and I'm not saying a trip to Paris with dinner and the Eiffel Tower and all those wonderful things aren't memorable. But you don't have to take the trip to Paris to have that experience. It could be a game that you're playing, I don't know, in the book, I don't know. But just the point is, while you're dating, and if you're a man or a woman and you're planning dates, think of things that spark those childhood memories and those things that are going to bring out those feelings in your partner, because those are the moments that you will connect with somebody. And that is what I think is really missing in dating. New dating, online dating, and partners that have been together for a long time is we do too much adulting. And we already know adults only feel a lot of responsibility. Kids don't feel responsibility. And when we don't feel responsibility, we're happy. So.
Message. Man, I really love that, because one, it's focusing on the intentionality of like this space of dating, because I feel like in our society, partnership is like it's two things at the same time. It's like it's wholly romanticized and commodified for our consumption, and like just displayed in all these very like consumerist ways, and the Netflix and chill, the dinner and a movie. Like we literally learn how to date from watching television and social media and whatever else is out there. Like what celebrities are doing. Somebody bought a whole wardrobe for their partner. Oh, that's what we should be doing. And it's like, what's funny about that is that people will have all these ideas about dating, but as soon as you start talking about, I'm looking to learn about better dating, or I'm looking to learn about being a better partner, then people look at you like, why would you do that? Like, isn't that an innate thing that we should all know how to do?
Right.
So can you speak to that?
Yes.
Did that come up for you a lot?
All the time. So relationships are our birthright. We're here for relationships, but we're wired. What's in our DNA is connection. Relationships have to be learned. Connection is in our DNA. So people think just by being a person, a human, alive, that they're automatically going to be equipped for relationships. Relationships require relationship skills. You have to learn tools to be good in any type of relationship. So I come across that all the time, that people don't understand or know that this is something to work at. These are things that I can be better at if I actually learn some tools and skills. But I think that we're getting there as a people, because I think there's so much dissatisfaction in relationships, and there's so much demise in relationships and the health of relationships, and what we're not seeing. I think people want more, and I think not all, but some people are not looking to the Hollywood tropes and ideas of what love and intimacy looks like. I mean, it's a bad idea if you do follow it, because we see every day, overnight relationships and divorces. So, I think we have to look at relationships and dating and partnership like we would anything else. If you want to go to grad school, what do? You prepare for it. If you want to get a job and that has a certain level, type of expertise, what would you do? You would study, train, and prepare for it, right? If you are having a child, some people do, some people don't, but you might read some books on parenting and prepare yourself for it. I mean, you would prepare yourself for these big life decisions. But when it comes to dating and love, like, people just don't prepare. And they think it's it's just an automatic given, and it's not. It's something you have to, if you want a relationship, do your best to prepare for it, although there are things you will never know until you're in that relationship. But preparation is key. So I think that's a big piece of it. Yeah.
I needed that for myself. So let's get into like the the meat of the book, because this is such a cute book. When I tell you I was flipping through this book and all I could do was smile. Like, good. I was like, wow, this is so fun. I'm single as a Pringle. And I was like, you know what? Let's do this with my friends. I stole that one from JJ. Shout out to JJ. But like, what are your favorite dates in here, and how did you come up with these dates? Because these are super cute dates, like things that I would never even thought of. Like, particularly, well, I love the '80s night. I was like, oh my god,
yes, like
I'm like, first of all, I'm born in '93. I have I didn't see the '80s, but I love the '80s. Okay, but I like the I like that each chapter it starts like, instead of this, that is a very common date, try this. Like, and I also like particularly for that movie, the movie line, because I didn't even think of that. But like, it's such a common activity to be watching movies, but the activity, y'all, is to blindfold yourself or your partner, right? And then you play like a clip of the movie for them to hear, and so they gotta guess what the movie is. And I was like, oh my god, we had so much fun. My goodness, like, how did you do these?
And all you need is a blindfold. Darnell, you did that date, didn't you?
We did do that. Yeah.
And did you enjoy it?
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. That sounds like so much fun. Like,
and you won, right? Did I hear you won?
Probably.
Yeah. I mean, how many, been in a relationship, how much fun is light competition with your partner? And banter, right?
Right.
It's so much fun. And so the book has a lot of fun, lighthearted competition. Again, kids compete, you have games, you keep points, you get scores, you win an award. You see where I'm going?
Yeah.
Like, we still have these inner children in us and the things that we enjoy. So, how did I come up with the dates? That's the good Lord. It's being in my space of creativity, which is a process for me that I work at daily, and they were things that just came to me. I mean, I wish I could say that, how, but there were over 100 dates, and then the publisher and editor, they took some out, but almost 100. A lot of them are from most of them are from my own experience, either things that I've done, not on a date necessarily. Like, there's things that are symbolic and nostalgic from my childhood, things I did with my dad and my sister's kids, that those memories stayed with me and left lasting impressions of connection with my dad and games that we had. So why wouldn't that be something that a couple can enjoy? Right. So there were things that I've experienced even in high school dating. And then it was things that I might want to do, but I've had a touchstone on every date in the book. And I haven't done all of them, but somehow they're connected to my past, my present, and definitely my future.
Give me top 5.
Nice. Oh, my top 5. Can I give my top 5? Is that okay? Can I share? Okay. well, like the inspiration for some of them, you know. I want to be respectful. I mean, one of them was, so my partner, we've had a 20, 30, 40-year iteration of our relationship. So one of my dates was, one of my favorites in there is when you surprise your partner and take them, you listen to a concert or something like that, or music.
Oh, yeah.
And my partner surprised me and flew me to Atlanta for a concert that I wanted to see. I had no idea where I was going, and showed up at the airport. I was going to Atlanta. I'm like, why am I going to Atlanta? What's in Atlanta? What's in Atlanta? And he told me to wear tennis shoes. I'm like, why am I wearing tennis shoes? I don't dress like this to go out at night. He's like, no, you're dressed perfectly. And I'm like, where am I going? And blindfolds me, takes me, we're staying in downtown Atlanta, and he blindfolds me, and we walk out, and he sits me down somewhere, and I can hear water, so I know I'm at a fountain. And then he takes off the blindfold, and I look up, and there's the marquee. And I was a huge Coldplay fan. I still like Coldplay.
Nice.
And I was like, oh my God! But so there's a date inspired by that. Another one that I love is Chasing the Sunset, which is so easy and simple, and like just imagine picking up your favorite food and just like, babe, let's just go find a place to watch the sunset. Another one was inspired by, there was a place in Los Angeles where you could watch airplanes come in and land. And it was,
They have that in DC.
Yes, they do. Have you ever just sat and watched them?
Yes, on a
Have
date.
you on a date? Isn't it romantic? It's amazing. See, she's got the.
There you go. You know.
Yeah. I mean, the plane, and you can sit on top of the car and bring food and drink responsibly, but like sit on the hood of the car, watch the plane, and it's, how simple is that? But it's something you remember. You remember that.
Yes.
And so in the date, there's planes, trains, boats, and automobiles.
Right.
So we take the planes, and you could do that with anything. Like imagine watching ships come in and out. You know, imagine watching trains come by in a really idyllic kind of setting or something like that.
Right.
That's one of my favorites. Another one is recipe tag team, which is where you and your partner come up with a dish in the kitchen, and you go back and forth, not, adding different ingredients to what your partner did before, and see what you concoct together, and you have to eat it. Let's see, what else? I haven't done this one, but I do want to do a charcuterie board lesson and experience. Has someone done that?
I did it with my friends.
You did it with your friends, yeah. See, so that's the other thing thank you for saying that, because the dates, people have said, is this just for friends too? Well, I think so, because people that are reading it are saying, I want to do this with just my friend, my girlfriends, and it does work that way. Again, because it's that competition, that lighthearted adventure, playfulness. The other one that I liked was, there's so many in there, let me just think. It was another food one. Oh, yeah. This was, dinner is on you.
Yeah,
tonight.
oh yeah, yes.
Dinner is literally on you tonight. And that was inspired by Sex and the City, if anybody watched.
Oh, yes. I remember that.
When she had sushi
Yes.
and got wasabi in places that no one should have wasabi.
That is so funny. Yeah.
So dinner is on you. So
Yeah.
like surprising your partner with dinner on you. Right? But just make sure you're not like having soup or some like hot food, It could be just dessert. Dessert is on you. That's one of my favorites. And let's see what else. The other one was another. There's just so many. I could go on. I mean,
Buy the book. That's what.
Yes,
That's
exactly.
the moral of the story. But okay, my last question. It's not a question. It's more of like an observation. So I love the layout of the book. The structure of this is great because one, she tells you she gives you an introduction, she gives you how to use the book, but also every date has like a 3-prong portion to it. So it's like you make a plan, you give a little description of the date, you make a plan, you start a conversation, so you have questions that you can ask each other while you're on this date, and then you level up. And you can do an activity that goes even deeper into
Yes.
this activity. So,
Yes.
what was the intention behind that?
So the book is budget friendly. It's for everyone. And so the level up is about if you do want to break the bank, if you do want to, make it more elaborate and detailed, that option's available. So there's something for everyone. You don't have to spend a lot of money to have a great date. But if you want to, yeah, go to the Michelin star restaurant. And that was one of my other favorites too, is where I had, there's dinner, you have dinner, but let me get the date right. You're a sommelier and a Michelin star restaurant. So you set up your home like you are a Michelin star restaurant. And then the level up would be either take a sommelier lesson or go wine tasting.
Right.
So or wine pairing. There's always something to do to make things more elaborate. People feel like, well, this just wasn't, I want something a little deeper. But the questions are also thought provoking to know and learn your partner at a deeper level. Because how often are we asking the same questions? I just know one thing. And no offense to anyone who out here who this might speak to, but I know, have you ever been to a restaurant or you've been somewhere and you see a couple and they're not talking to each other at all? Like at all. And again, silence is something to embrace, and there should be a level of comfortable silence in relationships. But when you see a couple not talking at all, and you've been sitting there an hour, and they're just,
Right. Yeah.
I'm like, okay, either they just got in a fight or they're like really bored. So I create questions so that you can still discover something new about somebody. And I guarantee, no matter how long someone's been together, there will be questions in the book that they've not asked their partner. Maybe it could have even been, what was your favorite trip when you were growing up as a family? What frightened you the most as a little boy or a little girl that still frightens you? When do you feel unsafe now? Imagine knowing those things about your partner. Those are the things that connect us. Those are the things that make us feel more intimate with someone. So.
To that point specifically, I guess I think for us as Black folks, like across the diaspora, but particularly all of us who are descendants of slaves, like we didn't have an opportunity to be like taught like nurturing and tenderness and being together and just communicative things like having fun. That wasn't on the menu for a long time. That wasn't like a thing. Obviously, I will say that we've always found ways to have fun. We've always found ways to do things, but we never had like a blueprint per se.
Yeah, sorry. I think we are the creators of nurturance. Like we're the most nurturing, I think, on this planet. I mean, we are the giver. I think we're the mothers of all mothers. And, I don't want to get that deep, but like if we go back to slavery, we were nursing and mothering other people's children.
Other people's children.
But it was always a sense of family.
For sure.
From what we know, there was always a sense of family. Like even, outside of what was happening in the house or out there, they still got together as family. I mean, what's happened is society has tried to tear away and break away the Black family. But I think we are very, like in our roots and what's deeply rooted in us is family and connection. And, we are one of the only people, not only, but that we have traditions, we have customs, we have holiday customs and traditions and foods that we eat and things that we celebrate that white mainstream may not even have those type of foods and things that they celebrate like we do. So anyway, that's kind of taking off course, but you said something else. I don't think anyone has a blueprint for relationships. And I think that's why they struggle so much.
That too.
If you look at, we were talking earlier about Hollywood relationships. Those are not all just Black, people from the diaspora that are struggling in their relationships. I think what I believe is that we've not been taught to love and value ourselves. So we sort of have this unconscious belief that we don't deserve that intimate, loving relationship or know how to sustain or attract it and keep it. Someone interviewed me once and they asked me what I thought Black love is. And, you know, you see Black love, you see couples together, you see couples that have been married for years and they celebrate Black love. And the celebration is because we were told we were less than. We were 3/5 of a person. So I think Black love begins even before you find a partner. Black love is when you love yourself in a world that tells you not to, in a world that doesn't celebrate you, in a world where you don't see people that always look like you or embrace our type of beauty. And so when you can defy those narratives and discover a sense of value and worth within yourself, to me, that's self-love. That's Black love. And the addendum to that of having the partnership is the icing on the cake. But it's when you can love and value yourself.
Thank you for that one. And I guess the point I was trying to make was more so that, like, we have had a blueprint, but it wasn't our blueprint.
Yeah.
And I think that because it wasn't our blueprint, we've still been following the models that have been dangled in front of us and taught that this is what's right, and then that goes into our socialization, our representation in the media, our everything, our ideas about what it means to be men and women come from European models. And so I guess having now this time, the space, the energy really to explore what our models are and what we need for ourselves. I think I'm happy that we're in that place.
Yeah, absolutely.
And this speaks to that because we're often not talking about, like, the conversations that are being had about the relationships between Black men and women specifically are not productive.
No, I mean, that really incenses me when I, if I'm scrolling through social media or someone reaches out to me for an interview or a conversation, it's the same narrative. It's the same, and I was watching, I can't remember what a thread on social media the other day, and someone commented, it said something like, do white people have these conversations or ask each other about, what men do or women do, or if they, if your man, they give, they get those scenarios on social media and they'll ask you, what would you do, but I think the conversations have to change. If we want, if we continue to have surface level, superficial questions and conversations about dating, then that's the vein that relationships are always going to be in. But it's what is entertaining. If you turn on television and you even see, and I'm not knocking any other dating or relationship coaches or experts, everyone has their lane and everyone contributes something great to what we're trying to do for relationships, but the narrative is the same. When do you text back? And what if he ghosts you? Mm-hmm. Okay, and then what?
Right.
Then what?
Right.
He doesn't go, like, I understand those things are important, right? But that's just barely scratching anything, because if they don't ghost you, you still haven't learned how to be in a relationship, or if he texts you the next day, so we have to move past those narratives and ask the deeper questions, but the deeper questions are not as entertaining. And, people don't want to have the thought-provoking conversations, so I'm gonna stick to what I do,
right.
And it may not be for what, the mainstream platforms want to hear and see, but I think we're leaning in that direction with Love is Blind, the TV show.
Yeah.
It's things are changing.
Things are definitely changing. I think the counter narrative is being shown more. I think that the other side of the conversation is actually being had in the forefront, whereas opposed to it just wasn't before.
It wasn't at all before.
Exactly.
It wasn't at all. And there's there's a lane for that, and there's always people who will want to hear those kind of conversations, and cuffing season and what to do for Valentine's Day,
right.
What to do, and that's great. Those ideas are great, but if we want to change the health of dating and marriages and relationship, we have to have the deeper, harder conversations. And people asking themselves those harder questions. That's when we'll see bigger shifts and changing within our, I'm one of those people that believes that I'm gonna make a big impact in the world. I'm gonna change the world. One relationship at a time.
Amen. sis.
I'll shade to that.
But it starts with changing this relationship. And as we change this relationship, we set ourselves up for a better opportunity to change the health of our relationships with partners. And I believe it's possible, but it does get discouraging sometimes. But
Thank you so much, Angela. Can y'all give it up for Angela, please? Does anyone have any questions? Would you like to open up for questions?
Do I walk up? Sure, I'll walk to you. Oh, meet me halfway?
Yeah, I'll meet you halfway.
Hello, Miss Angela.
Hello.
All right, I'm getting used to speaking to Mike because I do spoken word sometimes.
All right.
But
Come to our open mic.
okay.
Sorry.
You're good. Okay, I was gonna ask, have you actually examined the relationship between improv and like your dating scenarios? And the reason why I asked that is I just started being a theater teacher. I'm basically winging it, but I've managed to find out I'm like the favorite teacher. And as I'm hearing what you're saying and going over my experiences of what's been working for literally like the last month, and I keep having this like I keep having this consistent success of like students are drawn to me, people are drawn to me. I realize it's that I'm literally use the phrase humor me in the way I interact with people. So I think I'm asking like, have you examined that relationship? Do you think that's actually probably playing a huge role in like your dating scenarios?
I'm not sure I understand the question. When you say improv,
Do you mean like improv, like as
Improvisation
as
a technique, basically.
I don't think I know enough about the technique, but this gentleman right here does. He's an improv actor right here.
Well.
Yeah, what's your response? Sorry.
Yeah, actually, I actually do teach improvisational acting, so, come take my class, I teach in Anacostia sometimes, so, yeah, but anyways, shameless plug. There's a lot that improv teaches you. It teaches you how to listen, how to connect with others, how to accept each other, and the cool thing about the improv community in DC is that there is a lot of like acceptance and play, and you figure things out together. There's also the teamwork that comes in with the building of like the improv. So like I'm contributing something and you're accepting that, and then you contribute something and I accept it. So I think what you're doing is totally awesome. That these students connect with you like that. Are they young? Are they kids or?
Honestly, it ranges from pre-K to detention center. Like, it goes all
Oh, okay. Yeah, and it's probably because you listen. Because you listen to them, you accept them, and you don't judge them. And those are like all fundamental things that I teach in my class for my students. So keep it up.
Great.
Thanks,
You
Arno.
too.
Yeah. No, I don't feel like that's my lane to really comment on. I learned something tonight, so thank you, and thank you for your question.
Any more questions?
It's more like a comment. As you two were dialoguing, you mentioned something about intimacy and our relations. And you mentioned the word blueprint, but I kind of think I was understanding what you were saying, and the way I relate to what you were saying is I'm from a sharecropper family from Mississippi. And in our household, we didn't do a lot of hugging and kissing and, the things that I did with my sons and my children and my family, my immediate family. We didn't really have that growing up. So there were things, and then reflecting on what you said in terms of African people, being nurturing, being loving, we're the ones, yes. But there were some things that have happened to us that caused us to break away from that natural way that we are. And I've also experienced the same thing with some of my friends from the continent, saying that when they grew up, the same thing. Like my dad was there, but he was not really there. You know, so when it's kind of like you said, finding within yourself and reactivating that nurturing and that loving sense that we have and being able to express it. And I really appreciate what you're offering. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for hearing me, because I almost lost that part.
Me again. So you wrote this date night ideas book. What's next for you as far as like, is it a continuation of that, or is there something more that you're thinking about putting in your next book?
So, thank you for that. So yes, I actually have, I haven't started working on it, but I have talked to the publisher that I'm like, we need to annex to this, because I've come up with like more ideas, and people have asked, is there going to be a part 2? So I haven't started that, but the idea is there. But I wrote my third book last year also. I wrote 2 books, and the other book is going to be more of my memoir. Yeah, it's going to be a little different, and I'm hoping that will come out, released sometime in 2024. I'm also working on a collaboration book. It's called Salt and Light, and it's based on Matthew chapter 5, and it's about being the salt of the earth and the light of the world. And it's a compilation book with 30 different authors writing their stories of testimonials and how their faith has impacted and transformed their lives. And that comes out probably like before Christmas. So I'm leaning a lot into the author space. I really love writing. I find so much joy in it. So I have other ideas of books that I want to write, and it's just finding the time and the space to do it. I also recently was appointed an adjunct professor at the University of Denver Grad School of Social Work. So I'm enjoying that too. I'm loving that. Thank you. You know, and it's like seeing my life come in full circle, you know, in terms of getting my MSW, being that excited social work student, like thinking of what I'm going to do in the world, to like now I'm teaching them. Like it almost feels surreal. It's like the first thing that I've done professionally that feels like a big deal, like a really like you're shaping, like you're really doing something here. But I'm enjoying that. And what else? I'm doing whatever, you know, Spirit guides me to do. Am I forgetting anything? I'm having a ball, saying yes to a lot of different things. You know, I don't feel like I'm not in a box. You know, I don't put myself in a box. I won't let anyone put me in a box. I'm not just a dating and relationship coach and expert. I'm not just a, you know, adjunct professor. I'm not just a writer, not just, you know, I want to do it all. I want to experience everything that I can. Every part of my childhood fantasy and dreams and ideas, I'm here to live that out. Like, I don't want to leave here without having done all of it. Like, all of it. And I think that's what we're here for. And, you know, I have like all these people are like, how many jobs do you have? I have like 5 or 6 different things that I love that I'm doing. And as opposed to being sort of inculcated in us that we're supposed to have this one profession. Yeah. And I went to school as a social worker thinking I was going to be a social worker. I left social work very quickly and went into real estate in New York City for a long time. So I'm here to just explore every facet of myself. And I'm having so much fun discovering myself. And as I said earlier, that as long as we're here on this planet and we're living and we're breathing, there's always new things that we can discover about ourselves and about our partners.
Anybody, any more questions?
Hello, how are you? Thank you for your time tonight. My name is Kai. I have a quick question. So earlier you alluded to kind of the couples also needing to uncover their selves to not diminish the novelty of relationships. All right. So, what would you say to young professionals who are getting used to that life as it ramps up when you're new into your career, to also take time to get those layers out of yourself so your partner or your couple, the other side, can see that, right? Because that can be a little tough. That if you are focused on work all the time, you're focused here, you may not take that time to really look introspectively to you. So, what would you say would be a assistance to that layering and uncovering?
You know, you ask a great question. I think we're also in a world that really celebrates our professional achievements. And so we're often, from the time we leave high school, like it's preparation for that, and not preparation for a lot of other things. And my first advice always is for people who, if you want to be in a relationship, is to prioritize a relationship as much as you prioritize a job. Because one is not, I think the relationship is more important than the job. Because those things, right? Like, your job, you go to work. And for the most part, you leave your job at home. But your relationship is what envelops you and what you bring home. It has greater impact in your life. So I would say, and this goes back to what you were saying too. I think we have to start having these conversations earlier about relationships from the time we're in high school, and teaching people the importance of introspection. And I think it's happening. Career success is important, and I respect people who are very career driven. But if you want to be in a relationship and you want to be in a successful one, it's really prioritizing the health of a relationship and making time and space to know yourself. If you're spending 80 hours a week at a job and then you spend an hour with a partner that you are interested in, but you haven't spent any time, personal time with yourself, communing with yourself. Intimacy starts with self, right? We were talking about intimacy. You can't have intimacy with a partner until you've explored intimacy within yourself. And what is intimacy? Into me you see. It's vulnerability. And how often are we vulnerable with ourselves? So my recommendation is, if you want a partnership and any of your peers that you speak to, it's prioritizing yourself. Like, there's no other way around it. If you want to have introspection, you have to have time by yourself, not filling in every empty space in your calendar with other things and other people and other tasks. There has to be a schedule in your daily regimen where it's time for self, whether that's meditation, whether that's prayer, whether that's practicing mindfulness on a walk, whether that's journaling, whether that's focusing on gratitude. Like, these are the little things, nuggets that as we pour them into ourselves, our relationships are going to be blessed from them. It's going to bleed into those areas. So I was always a very inquisitive young girl, and very introspective. And I didn't really, I thought everybody was that way. I really did. And sometimes I still think that people are introspective. But what I'm seeing and what I'm hearing, what I'm learning and understanding is that it's a practice. Like everything else is a practice. You have to, if you love and value yourself, you'll be more interested in wanting to know yourself more intimately, as we're talking about intimacy, than you will the person next to you. Be interested in yourself, who you are, what you like, what don't you like, what frightens you, what albatross are you still carrying around? What patterns are you repeating over and over again in your relationships? What are you turning away from? What's your blind spot? And sometimes you can't see or know your own blind spot, and that's why you work with therapists, you work with coaches. But there has to be the interest. And I wish I could give you just like that one answer, but there has to be an interest in self. You have to be, like, you go to the gym, people go to the gym, they go grocery shopping, they go hang out with friends. They'll spend money to have drinks and, girls' night out and all this, but where are you investing in self? Personal, spiritual, emotional health and development. And that, when you pour into yourself in that way, you create the cornerstone and foundation for success in business. You're healthier, you're more well-rounded. I had someone reach out to me recently about wanting to work with attorneys and lawyers about creating that balance, because so much of are you an attorney?
I'm a law school student.
Look at that. Okay, so you're in school. So when you finish law school, it's going to be all about those billable hours, right? And so do you prioritize yourself now in some way? Do you carve out time for just you?
Yes.
What does that look like, if you don't mind me asking?
Like per day.
Huh?
I go to walk after I'm done with classes and everything. And I try to get like 30 minutes to an hour at least before bed to like a night routine type of thing. So I don't take that stuff into my dream space.
That's good.
Shout out to you.
That's probably more than what. And do you do things to just nurture your own interests? Not on a date, not with someone else, but just to nurture your own interests?
Nah, I don't. I can't even find the time right now.
You have to make the time. Yeah, like you don't want to wake up 10, 20, 30, 40 years from now. You're like, I never explored this thing because if it's there and it's knocking and it's trying to get your attention, the little tap, it's going to tap, and then it's going to get louder and louder and louder and more pronounced and more pronounced and more pronounced until you stop and recognize it.
Yeah.
And, if you have a purpose and a calling that's beyond law school, that God, I'm a faith-believing person, that if God has something else to do, that knocking is just going to escalate and get louder. And what I believe is people don't want to wait until something catastrophic or, a pivotal moment in their lives happens for them to shift into that. Like, you can discover other parts of yourself. Like, you're not just, not knocking law school or being a lawyer, but you're not here for just that, right? We have multi-purposes. And, follow what you're passionate about, but don't leave yourself behind in the process. Don't spend your whole life and your whole career saving everyone else from cases and whatever type of law you're practicing, saving them for trial, whatever it is, with neglecting yourself. Like, make sure you nurture yourself and your own interest in time. Yeah.
You were speaking to me about that. I was like, because I remember in grad school, like I came out of grad school last year for social work, and I would be reading other books while I was in grad school that had nothing to do with what I was learning about in grad school, even though they were, also like psychology related books. I was my classmates would always see me with another book outside of what they're like, how are you reading anything else other than what we've been assigned? And I'm just like, I can't not. Like, I literally can't not read the other books, because everything I'm learning, and I'm sure as you go through law school, everything you're learning is going to make you think about other things. And then you're like, I need to look into this further. I need to know about this part of this thing. Let me explore this. And it's like, now that I'm out of grad school and I'm, I think about those books that I was looking at while I was in grad school. I recognize that we don't always have the luxury of doing everything we want in our programs. And our programs are designed for one thing. They're designed to get you to pass the bar, to pass the social work test. They're designed to get you to pass that test. They're not designed to get you to design your practice however it's going to look. You design your practice. So that thing that keeps knocking at you, you have to research it, because they're not going to teach you that. They're just not. They're like, even Howard University is not going to teach me what I need to know to be a Black marriage and family therapist. They're just not. They don't even have that program. They have different programs that I can utilize, but do you see what I'm saying? Like, you have to explore those things because the degree is like the supplement to your vision, your destiny. You know.
I have another. Tell me your name again.
Kai Jackson.
Kai. Can I ask you a question?
Yes, ma'am.
What did you like to do when you were a child?
I like to be outside with no shoes on.
Hello.
Then that's what you should be doing now.
Just like that.
Go grounding, go walk outside,
Yes.
go to the beach, go to the park, walk on the grass, have friends come to the park and play, I don't know, tag, football. Like, you'll have a better sense of balance in your life. Because you,
Read a book outside, everybody.
you know, we never lose our inner child. We lose the connection to the inner child if you don't nurture that, but the inner child is always there. So don't lose sight of the things you used to enjoy as a child, and that will keep you balanced and even more energized. And, you know, because law school is serious, right? It's just seriousness. So you have to balance that with playfulness, lightheartedness, and that's doing the things that you did as a child. So walk barefoot, get your feet messy.
Oh, thank you.
I think we had some other questions.
Yeah, I was just gonna add, I spoke with some law school students in Gambia, West Africa. And like you were saying, I'm a nurse, and I remember during nursing school, I always made sure and I teach my children the same thing. Always make sure you have your own reading because we're being indoctrinated with the education.
Yeah.
And I asked the youth, did they know any, and I asked it here at a meeting with law students here too. Do you learn anything about the kind of law that they were doing in Timbuktu? Because I hear that people were coming from all over the world to study law in Timbuktu. And there was a young man that actually knew what they were studying and the name of it. And he said, the last thing he said, we need to redo what we're studying in law and our system of law because it doesn't reflect our culture. So it's just a note.
I mean, sis, you've been dropping gems all night. Like, I need to have you up here. Okay.
Hi everyone again. I wanted to add to that because I'm gonna try to do this as quickly as possible. I'm Nigerian, right? So when I hear the conversation about what hasn't been learned, I promise you the colonization of Nigerians, it affected us as well in what has been passed down generational curse-wise. And so I deal with a lot of patriarchal sexist attitudes when I go home. So I had to learn to leave my environment, and that's also why I loved college personally so much, because I actually learned how to be a better person. I got a psych degree because I like people, but I ended up finding out that first off, I like psychology, but I have no interest in being a psychologist in the terms that I would have to do that. Part one. Part two, I realized I just wanted to have fun. I've been raised to be accountable probably since the age of 4. And so I was listening to an actor friend, and it's funny because she smokes weed and then she goes sees the kids, but it's because also she's like, if I don't get to do what I want to do, this is gonna bug me for like the rest of the day. And it goes back to what you're saying. And it makes me think about the times where I was putting off studying to go watch television or just watch something else because I can't think about studying and I might have been undiagnosed with something. So I can't do that. It's not gonna work. And when I think about delayed gratification and like there's not always room for delayed gratification because the mental health crisis of like lawyers and doctors killing themselves in the middle because they sacrificed so much of self for saving other people it's like we got taught and we got indoctrinated to be people pleasers. And so my friend, she ended up she made a different decision than most people. Went to med school down in Ross, Caribbean, and that was the best decision for her life. Her anxiety went down. She knows how to say no to her family more. And so it's like all of these things hinge on learning how to be having the right balance of self-involved and impacting others. And that's what I kind of want to leave it with. But yeah.
Appreciate
I was trying to testimony anyway.
You said that was a word, a message also received. Does anyone else want to comment, or because we're wrapping it up? It's getting a little late.
I want to add one more thing. Okay, only because I think it's valuable. So, one thing I learned in the time that I've been like where I live, the village where I live, I used to get upset because people it's mostly a Muslim country. So on Fridays, everybody closes early, so you gotta get there before 11, 12 o'clock. And then Saturday, they only work half of a day. And then Sunday, they're closed. And they're not even Christian, okay? It's closed on Sunday. So I used to get upset. But then one day I caught myself and I said, these people are living. We're so used to and so accustomed to, we gotta work. I don't respect that. They're not working. No, they should be open. I need something. We need stuff done. But I realized that people are chilling. People are going to naming ceremonies and weddings and, the children are playing in the yard and they're in the garden. You know what I'm saying? And we are taught and conditioned, like you're saying, with the not having time and going to school like that, that's okay, and that's the way we're supposed to live. And other places, people are actually living.
Yeah.
So anyway, I just wanted to make sure I share that. Thank you.
I want to add to what you said. What's your name?
Ray.
Ray?
Ray Hama.
There's something that I like to say that speaks to that, and that is there's value in rest, right? We live in a society that promotes the hustle and the grind and the sleep when you die.
Yep.
Sleep when you die. No, live. But rest. Rest is not promoted. Rest is seen as weakness, as laziness, as, lack of motivation. But, I gave myself permission to take rest last year. And multiple books were birthed in that process. A relationship was birthed in that process. A professorship was birthed in that process. A modeling contract was birthed in that process. From a process of me saying no to everything. Just being still. And allowing myself to receive what God wanted me just to receive from me. And not me just giving to everyone else. So there's value in the rest. And, give yourself permission to rest and to frolic on the grass barefoot. And remember this tonight, the importance of that. Because what happens, and this is not to frighten you, but I often meet people, they come to me because they ignored those signs to walk on the grass. And they ended up with physical or mental or emotional challenges because they've ignored the most important person in all of it, and that is yourself and self-care. And then it's uncovering all the false narratives and the lies and the stories and the things that I've been doing that I shouldn't have been doing, and I should have been resting. And take rest in spite of a world that tells us not to rest, right? On the seventh day he rested. There's rest. You have to rest and value and love yourself as much as you do in the hustle and grind. Love yourself. And know that the rest is just as valuable.
Yes, thank you.
Look, that's it on that note. That was a good note. Thank you. Yes. Thank you all so much for coming out tonight. Buy the book. It's right here. And it's very affordable. Okay. It's very affordable. Angela will be signing books up here if you are so blessed to grab a book. The books are back there at the register. And thank y'all so much for coming out.
You've been right on the thing.
Oh, Lord.